The matter between Labour Minister Thulas Nxesi and former Chairperson of Productivity South Africa and CEO of Thuja Capital, Mdwaba, is currently being heard at the High Court sitting in Pretoria. Nxesi filed a court application in November for the court to set aside the 5 billion rand Thuja Capital Unemployment Insurance Fund job creation contract. This is over a deal between the UIF and the company that has been marred by a 500 million rand bribery allegation brought by the businessman. Nxesi, along with two other ministers, have been accused by Mdwaba of attempting to elicit a 500 million rand kickback on the 5 billion rand contract and firing him on the refusal to grant the bribes. SABC News economics reporter Katlego Legodi is in court and joins us live. Hi Katlego, can you take us through to today's court proceedings? What transpired?
A very good afternoon to you, Diabo, and to our viewers at home. We're coming to you live this afternoon from Court 4A of the Pretoria High Court here in Tshwane. And this is where the matter between Minister Thulas Nxesi and Thuja Capital CEO, Mr. Mthunzi is really underway when you look at what happened in the morning, getting into the afternoon. What we saw, Diabo, was a 4 hours delay where this particular process is concerned. And we see the judge in this particular matter, Judge Yapi Marais, just not really impressed by the delays in this particular matter, just coming down very hard on Mr. Mdwaba's lawyers here, as we understand that the delays were from their end, having to explain to the judge as to what led to the delays this morning going into the afternoon. So at the center of where we find ourselves this afternoon is a document that has been handed over to the judge who's perusing it, and he had to more or less adjourn this particular process to 2 o'clock in the afternoon so he can familiarize himself with this particular document and really come through with a ruling on whether this document will be admitted as part of evidence from Mr. Mdwaba's side. At the center of this particular issue is this particular document that was more or less dropped off, we hear, at Mr. Mdwaba's house last week, and there were also emails, anonymous emails that were coming through to just more or less in any way support the case of corruption, the allegations of corruption that were brought forward by Mr. Mdwaba, saying that they need to see that this court admits that particular document as part of their evidence going forward, so they more or less are able to argue their case in earnest. But really, not to spoil it this afternoon, I'm going to bring Mr. Mdwaba into the conversation here, who'll just explain to us what happened, because we understand that the delays are from your legal team, and we see the judge really calling for this matter to more or less continue in the afternoon. Welcome to the SABC, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon. What do you want me to address? Let's start there.
Let's start by understanding and you explaining the delays as to why then this matter could not start at 10 o'clock as it was supposed to. We are now seeing it going to be more or less argued at around 2 o'clock. That is when the judge will resume this particular case. Why?
Okay. So I think the context is that you will recall the last time we were in court, around about the 2nd, I think, of February, we had an interlocutory application in terms of which we asked the court that we be given some documents that the applicant relies on in their founding affidavit. But the applicant opposed that, and the judge also felt we were not entitled to those documents. That was the 2nd of Feb. Then on the 6th of Feb, we then issued a media statement to explain to people, to South Africa, like we always do, what had happened as an update. Around the 15th, I think it was, of Feb, I think Thursday or Friday, 15th or 16th, thereabouts, we received some emails that were sent by a person we do not know, that were sent to quite a number of email addresses. Those email addresses included quite a number of people that are involved in the matter, including apparently the applicants' attorneys and advocates and so on. And those basically, in a summary, the person who sent the emails said something like, we read your statement that you were deprived of the documents which for you to be able to defend yourself properly in terms of the setting aside of the contract specifically, nothing to do with corruption, but the setting aside of the contract. And we believe that because this would be a miscarriage of justice, we are now making these documents available to you. These are very copious documents. The one document, I think, the forensic investigation report that allegedly deals that at the time we were told, and the media, I think only the Sunday Times had this for some reason. Nobody else in South Africa had this forensic investigation report other than the applicant. We then we received this, and it's a very big document, I think about 200 and something to 300 pages. There was also a legal opinion, and these documents were sent via email, then some were dumped anonymously and confidentially at my place. And then there were also tweets. There was a tweet from something called Zama Zama or Truth Serum, which happened a few days later, also about the same documents. The one document is a legal opinion by two people, two advocates, one of them being the lead advocate here, Advocate Masuku. So my team then had to look at these documents. First of all, we had to check whether we could open the documents because they could have come from anybody, and we've been hacked before. I've been hacked on Twitter, we've been hacked on email, so we couldn't just open them. So once we checked that it was safe, we opened the documents and then started perusing them, and then we had to consult, and which we did. And so it's now, 7 days since those documents were made available. Indeed, when my team read and when we all read the documents that we are talking about, there were others. There were also annexures. There were also annexures to a report compiled by the DG, who, as he then was, the resigned DG, and these were annexures to the DG report that the applicant attached to his application, but never gave us those annexures.
If I can come in there, so do you know who these documents are from, and are you confident that these documents will be valid enough to support your case in the court of law? It's anonymous. It's an anonymous tip-off. So how confident are you that then these documents can build your case, since you are basically now relying on these courts to accept this document so that they can build your case in this matter with the minister?
Well, I don't think it matters really who the documents come from, does it? It's not relevant to the case. It's not relevant to my life. I don't care. But I do care about the fact that the documents look like the documents we've been looking for. They certainly have the content that talks about our case. They have a content that talks about Thuja.
So you brought the case here without those documentations to the court?
Yes, we didn't have them. That's why we asked for them on the 2nd of February. I think you were here. And those documents are the documents now that we've received. So we are now saying that because we've got these documents and we've perused and we've applied our mind to them, they are very relevant. It's actually true that they're extremely, extremely relevant. So in the light of that, we have now applied to have a supplementary affidavit to our answering affidavit. So this now is what has taken long, because only this morning, were we able to finish the affidavit and then get it printed, signed, loaded on case lines, and make copies available to the court and copies to our colleagues and what have you. And that took very long, which is why the judge was not very happy, because he'd given everybody time until 11, but we could only start at about 12. So now the matter has been moved to 2 o'clock so that it gives him an opportunity and everyone an opportunity to go through the documents, read them, and then, then we can start at 2 o'clock.
Do they speak to what the minister had more or less brought this case on to say that when you look at it, there were the flouting of processes where the awarding of this contract is concerned, it did not adhere to PFMAs and other labor law requirements in terms of it being awarded? Is this something that maybe probably are in the contents of this particular documents that will then approve your case in saying that this contract awarded to Thuja was valid and it should be seen through?
I want to reiterate that it speaks to a lot of matters that are relevant, and the relevance will be tested in court. So I am not at liberty now to preempt the court and my lawyers, so I'm not going to do that. But all that I think needs to be known is that the documents are relevant. It is documents we're looking for, And thank God for whoever it is that has made these documents available to us.
And one would say, before I let you go, Mr. Mdwaba, that you are now a politician. You're a member of the UDM. You've announced that you've joined the political party. So more or less, when we look at it, does this in any way affect this case here in the courts?
Affect what? Me being a politician, or affect what? Or affect my case?
Yes,
Which part? Affect my case?
Yeah.
No, it shouldn't. I don't see why that should. In fact, that's what I stand for in life, is that I don't think people should be looked at or given different treatment by virtue of what kind of perceived status they have in life. Why should politicians enjoy anything different from what normal people like you and I should enjoy? I think that would be nonsensical. So no.
All right, I have to leave it there with you this afternoon. Thank you very much. That was the Thuja Capital CEO, Mr. Mdwaba. This matter is expected to really get underway again and resume at 2 o'clock. And this is where the judge, acting judge Yapi, would more or less in any way rule of whether this particular document will be admissible and it will be accepted as part of evidence from Mr. Mdwaba's side. Back to you in studio, Diabo.
Thank you, Katlego. Very interesting developments coming out of that case, particularly of this mysterious document that has just come to the fore in this particular case. Katlego Legodi will be on that case to give us blow-by-blow account of whether it is being admitted into court, into the case. And stay tuned to SABC News to find out what happens with that document.